Good afternoon, safety champions, and welcome to another edition of the Aviassist Focus Sessions. And once again, we broadcast from Kigali, from the Rwandan capital here in East Africa, something we're still very excited about. Kigali is also the home of Africa's first aviation safety promotion center, the Aviassist Safety Promotion Center Rwanda. With the focus sessions, Aviassist brings you affordable and certified continuous professional development to raise that bar of aviation safety in Africa. In our focus sessions, we train and entertain for African aviation safety. Because it's easy to forget that every day, thousands of professionals like you work hard to keep commercial aviation the safest form of transport, also in Africa. And you do it not for recognition, but because you know your industry and your country rely on it, and also because it's simply the right thing to do. Today, we'll be looking at safety through collaboration and innovation. And it's good to know that this episode is sponsored by Kenya Airways. Today at the table, I'm joined by three passionate aviation professionals. My first guest is Helen Gichu. Helen started her career in flight dispatch and now works as the Director of Safety with one of our other sponsors, Rwanda Air. Great to have you in the studio, Helen.
Thank you, Tom.
Karibu
Great to
sana.
have you here.
Thank you. And my second guest is Maureen Kahunga, with a Master's in Business Administration focusing on strategic management and finance. Maureen works as a Senior Manager, Business Development and Communications at the African Regional Airlines Association in Nairobi, another partner of Aviassist. Murakaza neza, Maureen, as they say in Rwanda. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Tom. Happy to be here.
Let's hope we still say the same at the end and we're still friends then as well, isn't it? And my third guest is Captain Heik Anyoni. Having grown up next to a helicopter base, Heik started his career as a humanitarian pilot and now holds the position of Director Corporate Quality, Safety and Environment at Kenya Airways. Karibu sana, Heik.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Now, I'll ask a bit more of your patience before we get started, because as always, we want to give the viewers there a chance to win $100 in cash in each episode. And here's how it works. Throughout the show, I'll give you 2 letters, in fact, 3 letters today. Every 10 minutes or so, we'll show you one of our guests' favorite books. And just write down the first letter of the first name of the author. And then you combine those 3 letters to form a 3-letter code, which you then submit at the webpage here at the bottom of the screen. And you have 15 minutes after the live episode to submit your code. So that's a good reason to watch the live episode. From all the correct answers, one lucky winner will receive their $100 by mobile money. And we'll announce the winner on the LinkedIn page, which is an extra good reason to follow us on LinkedIn. Right, so let's get started here in the studio and talk collaboration and innovation to strengthen aviation safety. Helen, if I can start with you. In your view, what are some of the key opportunities to improve aviation safety in Africa in the coming years? Where are the nuggets that we can harvest, perhaps?
Thank you, Tom. And I think looking at the aviation industry, looking back 5-10 years ago, we have quite improved well. Safety has really grown. And back then we were always talking about reporting and data, and now we already have the data. So the next step, I believe, is now data analysis to move that report we have to more consumable information that we can all use to make decision when it comes to safety.
Okay, so to move from just collecting the data, if you like, to now starting to analyze it.
To analyze the data and get useful information out of it.
Heik, if I can take this to you, what comes up in your mind in terms of the good opportunities that are out there for us in the coming years?
So I believe that as African airlines, from big to small, all fragment our data. So we collect data in all forms. We collect data on fatigue, on flight data analysis, on incidents and accidents. However, collectively as an airline, as airlines, then we don't put that data together to form a story or a picture about Africa. So unfortunately, then we don't have a very good picture of where we are as Africa. Some airlines, Rwanda Air, Kenya Airways, Ethiopian, might think we are doing extremely well.
Yes.
But in the context of the aviation space, there are small pockets here and there that may not be doing very well. Now, the role of the bigger airlines as big brothers is to carry everyone along and ensure that we raise up the profile of Africa as a safe and secure airspace for everyone to operate in.
Not just for one individual airline, but for the industry as a whole.
Yes.
And Maureen, that I think Hake's point is a very nice link to you because he mentioned the story of Africa in terms of safety. One of the reasons why we invited you here today is because I feel as an aviation safety community, we can often do better in that storytelling. Because when we try to convince, let's say, a Minister of Finance or a CEO of why safety is necessary, we come up with an ICAO manual or an IATA document and they fall asleep. So, and you are not a diehard safety professional, so a little bit from the outside, how do you think we can improve our messaging on safety?
Thanks, Tom. And also to mention, in as much as I'm not a diehard safety professional,
Yes.
I'm a diehard safety promoter.
Okay, I like that.
One of the things that we note in our African context is that there's not enough storytelling by us. So the African story is not told, where we see improvements, even if it's in small steps.
Yeah.
We're not telling our own story, and no one will come to tell our African story out there. I take the instance of the revised Abuja safety targets coming in to do things more differently. Yesterday we had the safety summit, and one of the questions that came from the floor is, we are seeing some figures and we're not improving. But where there is improvement, no one is really telling that story. So in my view, and from the context of AFRA, having safety being among our top priorities is that let us, in as much as we're doing a lot of effort to enhance safety, but where there is progress, however small, let us tell the African story. Looking at the effective implementation scores in Africa, out of the 54 states, we have most of them being below 75. But you have the 12 states being above 75%. And
this is effective implementation of ICAO standards.
yes.
Yeah.
And looking at those states that are doing very well, are we sharing that story enough? Okay, even if it's being told at the country level, but let's do it at continent-wide and global level so that we see that indeed Africa is a continent that is not deemed unsafe, but there are a lot of efforts that are going there and we are making some good progress. So my 2 cents in this is that let us tell the African story as Africans.
Okay, then I want to have more than your 2 cents. I want 4 cents. How do you think, what ways would be available? Because what you see a lot, and that's what I really like about Rwanda, for example, they have the Visit Rwanda on the t-shirts of, I think it's Arsenal and some other clubs. And where that is innovative is I think there also, Rwanda probably thought, if we try to tell a positive story about Africa, the big newspapers won't pick it up because they only listen to bad stories, unfortunately. So how can we, what channels could we possibly use to tell that story? Because just putting it in a paper and hoping somebody will publish it will probably not work. They will wait for an accident and then the story will be told. Any suggestions how we can improve that?
Yeah, you're right, Tom. One of the focus of media, the story that sells is when the man bites the dog.
Yes.
But when the dog bites the man, no one's talking about it. We need to have out-of-the-box ways of communicating the story. And the observation is that when you're talking about safety, it's dull and boring. No one wants to pick that report and read it. But can we use different storytelling techniques? For example, this forum we have here, we are talking about safety, looking at how can we enhance safety, what are the gains made. Let us use such kind of out of the box and out of the norm ways. And when we have those yearly reports are released, ICAO, IATA, on we've made these safety gains, we can do some nice storytelling techniques, for example, using even our youth to tell that story. Using platforms that are really easy to digest, very short, catchy communication tools, maybe digital. We have now the TikTok. I haven't seen TikTok really being used to communicate some of these good stories. I don't know, is Aviassist on TikTok?
We're not on TikTok. We are on many other channels, but
that's a call to action for you. It's one of the tools that we can use to communicate the story, and we also need to use our youth to be that drive, because that's a big percentage of our population. So my other 2 cents on the other 2 cents to make it 4, tell the African story, use good and out-of-the-box narrative techniques to reach the wider audience.
And maybe, like you said, different generations as well.
Yes.
To tell that story.
Yes.
Hake, in terms of packaging progress and messaging, any experiences that you've had at Kenya Airways that really work, for example, internally or externally?
Certainly. Allow me to use an AviAssist example. So,
Okay.
So we recently did a FRMS class, and after the class we were given a comic strip.
Yes.
Right, the comic strip is about bird and wildlife around airports, and I thought that was a very innovative way of not just transcending the aviation space, but outside, because it has to start at the lowest level possible, or at the youngest, like Maureen has said. Then those have to embrace that there's an expectation out there as we grow up. We need to have a certain safety mindset if we want to get into aviation. Everyone will tell you they want to be a pilot, but do we wait until they're 18 years for them to figure out there's a culture that is required in aviation, or how do we start that from a very early age? So I think that was a very innovative way of creating that awareness from the bottom up.
And for the viewers out there, I didn't pay Hake to say this. It's a surprise as well. Let's go to the first book. A lot of books sold, apparently over 3 million copies sold, of Robin Sharma, the monk who sold his Ferrari. I don't know who took this to the studio.
That's why.
It's you, there you go. Briefly, why this book? What does it mean to you?
So I've had this book for a very long time.
Yes.
I always go back to read it over and over. One of the best lessons I always get with this book, that you don't need to have a title for you to be a leader.
Okay.
We are all leaders in our own area where we are. I don't need to be called a Mr. or a Mrs. for me to be a leader. I can lead wherever I am, whether in the house, in school, with my friends, or wherever I am. You are a leader.
So you don't have to be called manager or director to be a
You
leader.
need to be.
And in fact, sometimes you see managers and directors aren't very good leaders at all. So it is not necessarily so that when you have that title, you're a good leader. You can be an informal leader. Isn't it?
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for taking this to the studio. I think just to catch on the same, I want to give you the same opportunity, that Hake and Maureen had. Any sort of communication tools you've seen work within one that, please don't give another AviAssist example.
I will try not to, but I think I'll bring up what Maureen was talking about. I think a lot of time when you go to some of the events, the aviation event, you find they'll always have all the stories about accident, and yet you find maybe out of all the million flights that have been conducted, probably 6 of them. But we never tell the story about the rest of the flights that have been conducted, how well things have improved, or where we were.
The 900,000 sold went well.
Exactly. So I think even when we prepare some of these conferences, we need to start from that story, the good thing that has been done, and then we progress the lesson that we are learning from perhaps the accidents that have happened.
I think that's nowadays called actually safety 2.0, where you look at the things that go well instead of looking at the things that
go back.
Go badly. Well, I have to come back to the 4 cents of Maureen as well, actually, because I think Maureen, to some extent, there is perhaps something that you have to teach us. Maybe Afra can work on even things like setting up a communication class for safety professionals. Because I agree with you. Sometimes you go to a conference and the presentation is very rich on content, and it's all true, but it's very boring. So I want to throw those 4 cents back to you and say, help us as an industry, I think, because we're missing that, and usually people like Hake, like myself and Helen are not necessarily trained in that communication. Yes, maybe crisis communication to deal with that. But so that's something I'd like to take back to you indeed. We have to take a short commercial break for a message from one of our sponsors. Welcome back to the Focus Sessions. And as you probably know, today my guests are Helen Dichu, Maureen Kahonga, and Hake Anyoni. I want to make a switch a little bit in terms of the topic we're talking about, and this is about the collaboration. Basically, Hake, you hinted at it a bit already, but I know you're quite passionate about the topic you actually discussed briefly, that you want more airlines in Africa, maybe on a small scale initially, to work together and share, maybe behind closed doors, but some of the lessons. What are your plans? Are you willing to share some of that with us?
I commit to sharing data with anyone who's interested in Africa, I think, because as Maureen talked about the EI score, it sort of pits different countries against each other. So you'll say, fine, Cote d'Ivoire is at 90 something, and Somalia is at a lower figure, or Kenya is at a lower figure, or Rwanda is at a lower figure. But guess what? The airline in Cote d'Ivoire will leave Ivory Coast and fly to Rwanda, which is across the border. So how do you reconcile that the EI score is higher there? Does it mean it's safer when you're flying there, and when you're coming to Rwanda, you're a little bit unsafe? So sharing data across borders, because safety does not stop at a physical border. We really need to find a way where we're saying, what are we learning? Because if that would help Helen prevent an accident, then we are all the more safer. I think we're not happy when one of any other airlines has an accident. It's not a very nice feeling for anyone across the world.
No.
And we've seen a few accidents across the pond in America, and that saddens us. And we are very interested to find out what happened. So as part of our safety management system, it's not just what we have internally. We also want to see what is happening outside my organization. Helen flies the 737 in Rwanda. I fly the 737. So I don't see why we cannot say, hey, what are the issues you have in Kigali? What are the issues you have in Nairobi? Because guess what? We've had conversations and the issues are similar.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to come up with mitigations, and maybe Helen got it right. So she's done something that's been successful, and that will improve safety, I think 100-fold. Just that small bit of just sharing
between
your experience will have an unimaginable impact on the safety of Africa.
And so what you're saying at the moment, we get that information, that data perhaps from the US, but we don't get it enough from within Africa, of airlines and operators sharing it.
Yes. So we don't get enough airlines, and I understand that maybe it could be around platforms, ways of doing it, because yes, I have the data, but how do we share that data? And as the safety chairman of the Afra Safety Group, it's to have conversations around, is there an atmosphere of trust within the member airlines to actually say, yes, send your data to Afra, and we trust that Afra will do the right thing from a governance perspective, data protection, and that even when I feel vulnerable as an airline, the lessons still come out without me feeling that I've been exposed.
Yeah, and
Yes.
you've been pointed as a bad guy.
As a bad guy. Yes, so that's the danger. I know everyone will have, those are the trust issues we have. But just like in any relationship, we need to work on it bit by bit.
Helen, how does that sound to you?
Yeah, I think many airlines right now are sharing data with IATA. We are all members of the GADAM program, which something we have come to learn to trust each other. But I think going back to the story, telling the story of Africa, and this is, I think, one of the lessons Heg and I just came to learn when we sat down for, I think, an hour and just started discussing what is going on. Yes, I can see the data. I can see we have a problem in Nairobi ourselves. I can see other airlines also has an issue in Nairobi, that it is stickers issue or something like that. But we don't have exactly what is the issue. But if we have a platform where now we sit down, we talk now, because yes, the data will tell us, but it will not tell us the story. So when we sat down, myself and Heng, and we just started talking, and then we realized, oh, so that is how it is, and we were able to relate a lot, and we realized that what problem he's having, we're also having the same problem. We probably have different approach to
Solving it.
But if we can put that synergy together, then perhaps we can focus on better things and reduce the double energy to resolve the same problem. So I think, as Heg said, having Afra at the center of it, bringing all the airlines together on one table, with the data, and then we tell our story, then you'll find that we're able to really learn out of it as a whole in Africa.
And I think, Maureen, that's something hopefully we can work on together as well, because I think Afra has a fantastic platform to do that. One point I want to take up though, Helen, of course, for us as Aviassist at least, the majority of operators, airlines, if you like, in Africa are not IATA carriers, and they will also never likely be IATA carriers. So I think it's also important, maybe yet they are not a member of AFRA, but to see if we can include them in one way or the other in that cooperation, because I think in my region, which is sort of below the Sahara as Aviassist largely, I think there are 24 IATA carriers, but there are probably hundreds of smaller operators, especially if you go to Wilson,
Yes.
you'll find many of them who I think sometimes feel a bit left behind because they can't really turn to IATA because they're not a member. They probably don't even want to become a member of IATA because they don't want to scale up to that size. So work is cut out for you there at AFRA, I think.
Sad, work is not cut out for AFRA. Work was cut out and already from the outcome of the first African Aviation and Operation Safety Summit. This was one of the recommendations that was made, that indeed there are those safety gaps, and how we can mitigate is we create the AFRA safety group. And after that AFRA safety group is created, it's a forum, a platform where airlines can share data, do peer-to-peer reviews, and see how we can do a forum, airlines to discuss, not just sharing data and getting it out, but having to have those discussions and see how can we enhance safety in Africa. Captain Haig is the chair, congrats, taking up that role. We had our first meeting yesterday, and we were looking at the key focus areas that will be taken up by that safety group. And we got some very good recommendations from the safety summit that was held yesterday. And now the ball is in our court as AFRA to now put the action plan in place. The meetings will be held quarterly, and also see how we can devise a structure of that data sharing and how we can have airlines to participate. Because one of the challenges we see as AFRA is we do have very value-adding work groups, but airlines are not patronizing them, or not enough airlines are patronizing them. For example, the joint fuel group, where we pull volumes together on fuel, out of 45 member airlines, we only have it's less than 20.
So you need a bigger input, a bigger role for those member airlines.
And one of the reasons is that the airlines, some of them are not really fully aware, or some of them find it, logistics of having their representatives attend, it's an extra cost. Well, the margins are very thin. But one thing about safety, it's a top priority for AFRA, and as was really reiterated yesterday, safety is not a competitive edge for airlines. We need to collaborate. It's actually a standard for airlines to ensure that we are all safe in Africa. So this is already, work was cut out, is already now the ball is rolling, and we want to see much traction such that at the next year's safety summit, we are reporting on tangible outcomes. And between now and then, with the able chairmanship of Captain Haig of that safety group, we'll be able to drive action and see how we can meet our airlines' needs.
Okay, thank you very much. Time for our second book. For the viewers out there who want to win this $100, The 50th Law, 50 cent. Oh, that's more than your 4 cents, actually. 50 cent by Robert Greene. So the letter that you need out there for your code is the Romeo, the first letter, to make up your 3-letter code. This comes from you?
Yes, truly.
So yours truly. So why we've gone quite a significant amount up, which is nice, from 4 cents to 50 cents. What does the book mean to you?
That book is one of the powerful books I've read. Especially, I like Robert Greene's books because they really, sometimes some of them are difficult to read, but the content is quite powerful. So this particular book, written in collaboration with 50 Cent, is telling the story of how 50 Cent went through a very difficult childhood and how he made it. And the key message being supreme boldness, supreme fearlessness. And that's what I take even to apply in the day-to-day, because each book I read, I ensure that it's not reading and putting it in the shelf, but reading and implementing it. So I find that the things I'm taking and putting it on my day-to-day are really, you can say, elements and wisdom nuggets that anyone who has a chance to read Robert Greene, if you haven't read Robert Greene, start with this one. Start with this one. Yeah.
Good sales pitch there.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, actually, it's time for another short break from our discussions here at the table. Because if you're new to Aviassist and you think, who or what is Aviassist? Here's a short video explaining what we do since 1995.
Africa, a continent on the rise. Africa is the world's second biggest air transport growth market, and there is a lot to do. Africa is in the process of giving the continental aviation industry a place on the world map, on all fronts. This requires unprecedented efforts, even more so in a post-COVID-19 recovery. It means eliminating a backlog, but also respecting sustainability and CO2 emissions, building safety on the ground and in the air with technical and operational training. More than ever, international cooperation is vital to give what is arguably the most important economic link between Africa and the rest of the world, connecting people across the vast distances in Africa. An essential link, and that's why there is AviAssist. Africa and AviAssist. We have been leading, building and supporting safety promotion for the African aviation industry since 1995. Affordable, independent and professional. We stand up for aviation safety in Africa. We change attitudes and produce safety. Our professionals support African professionals, and we do it with passion by delivering on-site and online courses across Africa and more. AviAssist. Join us in Kigali or anywhere else on the continent. The African aviation industry needs you right now, more than ever. AviAssist.
Welcome back. Something I should also say is that we offer you a chance to qualify for a certificate of attendance, and you can read all about the exam and qualification criteria on our website. Right, let's pick up where we left here in the studio. I'd love for all of you to sort of share in a nutshell, what was your journey into aviation like? Where did it start? Let me maybe start in the middle with Maureen.
Oh.
How come you got infected with the aviation bug? Presuming you are infected with the aviation bug.
Yes, not infected, but really an enthusiast of
Yes.
aviation. How I started my journey from the onset, I come from a family where there are so many academia professionals. So my role models was I need to go into teaching. My aspiration was to be a professor at the university. I even knew the name of the university.
Really?
Yes. So I, after really doing rigorous schoolwork at the Kenyatta University, I got a scholarship from the government of France.
Okay.
At that time, what they were doing, they got 4 universities in Kenya to do a competition, and each university had to send the best French lady and the best French gentleman. And then from that experience of that scholarship to do the linguistic study, I realized I want something that's global, really. I just don't want to be in a lecture and lecturing students, but I want something that's more global. So that's why I had the idea of being in aviation. And when I finished the internship, I just realized it's not just yet that step. And what better way to start than down up? So I enrolled in KQ because of the French. We were bonded. They took a group of, I think we were 30 of us. Each of us had a foreign language. And after the training, just about to start the journey, that was 15 years ago.
Yes.
My professor from Kenyatta University was contacted by AFRA. They asked, can you give us someone who's very good in French? We want a director, commercial needs someone to assist him because we have French, English. We want someone who's good in French. Kenya is Anglophone. They want someone who's good in French. So he said, oh, this lady was good in French. But I told him, I've been trained in KQ. I'm about to start. He said,
As a what?
try.
You were going to start as a what?
As a cabin crew, yeah, down up. In fact, my plan was exactly when I reached that 1 year mark, I moved to departments. I wanted to end up in finance.
Okay.
Hence the MBA. And when I got the interview at AFRA, I told them this is my career path. If you're able to match what I will be going to have at Kenya Airways, I'm willing to do my down up in AFRA. And I sincerely thank my mentor and my great boss at that time, Rafael Kuchi. He actually said she's the one I want, because some were asking she's not the right person for the role, maybe overqualified, etc. But I was coming as a package. And when I joined AFRA, the story was such that the down up was even better because of not being only at an airline kind of position, but to be at an overall industry position where I have an aerial view airports, airlines, civil aviation, and industry that does mandate policy. And I never looked back ever since.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I've grown in Afra, and I've come to really appreciate aviation from the association side. Of course, I've done supplementary IATA trainings and
yeah.
various industry trainings, and that's how my journey in aviation started. It started because I got my mind opened just by the aspect that I was still in university. I got a scholarship to travel, and what really drives me when I look at the young generation aviation professionals that we are inspiring is to open up their minds to know that this is how the industry, so that when they are as young as high school, they already have that idea. You don't need to wait until you go to university, so you can take the right subjects, the right career you want to achieve.
And I think what's also important of your journey, which is to some extent I think has similarities with Helen and myself, because with all due respect for Hague, but of course our viewers often out there, our viewers only think, if you want to go in aviation, you have to be a pilot, a cabin crew, or an air traffic controller. And they don't always know that there are so many other fascinating careers, where you can have a good salary and you're still in aviation.
Yeah, and also to add, even sitting at AFRA, we see some gaps whereby what is coming out from the university in terms of the graduates, some of them are not really fully acquainted or fully baked. So you have an internship that will be longer than it will be. So what we are thinking in terms of the out-of-the-box ideas is collaboration with the university such that we can have African professionals, captains of the industry, being invited by the universities as associate professors or visiting professors, because that is a critical element to ensure that what is coming out from the university is fresh, is coming as the real-time developments. And if you can close that gap, then we have graduates are coming out from the university who have that relevant.
Who are fully baked to some extent.
So you just need a shorter internship.
Yeah.
And then it's much easier for you to get a placement.
And that's actually what we do here in Rwanda. We work with the University of Rwanda, who are actually hosting us here to do exactly that indeed. Hey, quickly to you, your story, and how did you get into aviation?
So mine is a cliche story because I didn't get into aviation. I was born into it.
Okay.
So I was born into a military family. So
Yes.
My father was a military helicopter pilot. So being born at the barracks, one of the strangest sounds I had as a 2-week-old was a helicopter rotor. And I was
You vividly remember, right? From
Yes,
when you were 2
I
weeks
do.
old.
So I was not sure what that was, but as I got to grow, got a chance to interact at the airport with military aviation, and I just fell in love with aviation, and just growing, seeing that entire space of military aviation. My father eventually went into general aviation and commercial aviation. So I really enjoyed spending that time in aviation by default.
Just because your father was there, it meant you were
Yes.
sort of exposed to it.
If there was a chance during the holidays to go to work with him, guess
Okay.
what? I'd spend the entire day in the hangar or the entire day joyriding in the back, just seeing the world by mistake or by default.
Default. By mistake, I think.
Yeah, so that's really where my passion came, and I don't think I've ever thought of doing anything else other than aviation.
Aviation native.
Yes, aviation.
Well, now I'm in safety, so sort of more or less slightly abandoned the aviation
I'm still part of it.
and moved into safety, which is now even better.
But you're also still flying, right?
Yes, I'm still
Yeah.
flying. Safety is even better because now you are looking at making sure that the planes are safe, our passengers are safe, the entire ecosystem is safe, and just give confidence to the public that we have you.
Yeah. Great. Thanks. Helen,
Yes,
where did you start?
I think unlike Hague, where I lived, it was just on the approach for JKIA.
Jomo Kenyatta International Airport.
Yes, Jomo
All our
Kenyatta
viewers are familiar with.
Exactly, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. And I always had the aircraft, just the noise, perhaps from from
2
Hague's
weeks old.
generations, 2 weeks old. So I always had the noise and during the approach, and it always intrigued my mind. So I started flying in Kenya School of Flying and moved to flight dispatch. Progressively, I got a job in Nairobi as a flight safety officer. and I realized I was not cut out to do a flight dispatch work, which was very office-like. I realized that within safety, I'm able to see the company from a different angle. I could wake up in the morning, I'm dealing with flight ops. The following day, I'm dealing with cabin. A few minutes later, I'm with a different department, ground handling.
So the variety of it.
The variety of it and being able to see a different angle of the company really intrigued me. But one of my best things that happened when I joined safety is becoming a trainer. Something that I really love to do. And I really, one of the things that really made me stick to safety is just doing training. To date, I still do training. I love the moments I'm in class, and I always get my safetyness come out.
Your safetyness comes out.
Just come out, and sharing the experience. I moved from Nairobi to Rwanda now. It's now 13 years. Purely safety, and every day to me is a new day. I deal with different things, different situation, and really I love the learning in it. Yeah,
And still teaching as well. Training.
still teaching.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that what's the nice thing, which I presume you don't always know, at least I didn't know when I was a child, and you think of teachers, you think of just it, going from you to whoever you're trained, but then you realize that he who teaches learns. So you learn from that teaching yourself, you grow yourself.
I agree.
Well, we're coming towards the end of the episode. It's just one more serious subject I want to tackle with you, and that's we spoke about the importance of trust. We want people to trust Afra when they get the data. We want your staff to trust that if they report something, they don't. The idea is it's a system failure initially, and it's not about looking for blame. I would love to ask each of you if you have to give one suggestion to our viewer to help build that trust within your own operation or within as Afra. What would be your tip, Heik, in terms of how can we in an airline increase that trust?
They say that trust needs to be earned, and it's not something that any organization will demand and say, trust me.
Yeah.
I
can say it, but
yes, I can say it.
Yeah.
But, that will really take some time for that to get built. Now, there's some things that we need to do to build trust. The activities that we need to do. One of the very important things is the tone from the top. What leadership says and does, because it's very easy to say trust me, but my actions do not reflect
that trust that you are
that
demanding
trust that I'm demanding.
Yeah.
So
or asking for.
I think that's 50% of the work done. If our leaders actually say and do, and it's consistent, because I can say and do for 2 months, 3 months, but again, it's not consistent, then the trust keeps breaking. And anytime you build trust, usually they say from a culture perspective, if you're building culture for 10 years and that culture is eroded, it's an instant. It's a click and it's gone. And they say it takes double the time to build the trust back. So again, that's another 20-year journey. So the leaders must start. The leaders must also realize it's not a sprint. It's a very long journey of consistent steps, incrementally showing that there's a lot of trust in the organization. One of the areas when it comes to trust is around just culture. So just culture is communicating to the employees that you're safe, or in terms of whatever you have reported, I will not penalize you.
Unless it's willful misconduct, you're drunk at the job, these things.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's always the unless part, which is, I think most of our staff in the airline only read the I will not penalize you unless. So they don't read anything after that. But it's just to be honest with each other. If there was a mistake that was made, let's be honest, let's be open, and let's be truthful about it. Because today you made a mistake, you're alive. Tomorrow someone will make a mistake and they will not be alive. And that could affect another 300, 500 people. Yeah. When a plane crashes with 200 lives, it's not the 200 lives that have been affected.
It's all the people around those
everyone
people,
around that
the
one
staff.
person.
And,
Yes, so it could really go to the thousands and thousands, and it's very important that we create that trust.
And I think also you mentioned leaders. I want to connect that to the point of Helen. Leaders doesn't just mean the managers. It also means, and everybody's a leader. It's too easy to say it should just be the leaders, commit to it. The other thing I wanted to say in connection with what you were saying, Heike, is the leadership and the feedback. One of the real popular items in our team leadership for aviation course is exactly the feedback, because people say, I find it difficult, whether I'm a manager or an informal leader, to give constructive feedback. It's so easy to say you did something wrong, as opposed to really having that dialogue with a different tone.
Yeah.
Great.
If I may, so we did a safety survey recently, and we found that all the questions that had a question like, do you hold safety in high regard? All the questions were yes.
Yes.
But all the questions that were, does your manager or does your leader hold safety in high regard? All the questions were no. So it's very important for us to be honest with each other. Yeah, because as a human, it's very human to blame.
Yeah. We
someone
get
else,
raised in that way, as
especially
children.
if it's not you. So it's what it is. So we just have to give that feedback, like you said.
Positive.
Yeah, sure.
Maureen, in terms of building trust, any suggestions from you as a communications and business development professional?
I think I'll look at it from the perspective of an airline association. We have a very noble initiative that has just started crawling, which is the safety group, amongst other initiatives. My call will be for the African mindset to change, such that we believe in our own African solutions. The problem we observe is that when there is an initiative by an African, very good initiative, us Africans don't believe in our own.
No.
We want to believe in something that's coming from outside Africa. Whereas we have very good solutions because we learn we know our own background, we know our own problems, and our solutions work best. So as we roll out some of these very noble initiatives, is on the belief from our African airlines that this is a good solution that can work for us, for them to patronize and to participate and to join our efforts. And also for that confidence to be built, Haig said the trust takes time, is true. It will take time as we continue to build that trust so that we can have that sharing of data at Africa-wide level, sharing of experiences from the airlines to have that critical mass. We'll get there, we definitely will get there. But to have that belief beyond airlines, because our recommendations for the safety group is, can we also collaborate with other safety groups? We have at state level, at also the level of the oversight authorities as well. So can we have all those groups having that belief and trust, and we come together? So collaboration and belief in our own, and let's patronize our own initiatives because we understand our market.
Patronize, you mean make it our own.
Participate, and when we have a call to action, we run towards and do the specific action required. We have some of our airline CEOs are very supportive. Most of them sitting here next to me, of course, their CEOs are very supportive. Whenever we have a request to have the airlines participate in this initiative, even to pilot, they always are willing and able. So we just call upon airlines, let us not have a very good initiative, but very few airlines in it.
And also let's get that initiative driven by solutions from Africa for Africa.
Yes, and let us, ourselves as Africans, be the ones to also communicate, as an aspect of communication. At the level of Rwanda, at the level of Kenya Airways, when all this is well and running, don't just wait for Africa to communicate. Let us have even the airlines themselves
find a way to get that message out there.
And communicating it with what we said earlier, not just the boring books or the papers that come in, but in very interesting stories that are easy to read. We have very many things on our screens competing for our attention. A lot of clutter,
absolutely.
But stories that are easy to read, ready to understand, and also to reach a wider audience, not just the ones who are
the safety professionals
and above, even down to the level of the passenger. Do you know that the passenger also has a way to be educated, to learn
about safety? Yeah, absolutely.
That's a big percentage of the audience,
and especially because we have many new passengers starting their journey, their first journey in the coming decade. Lovely guest. I'm afraid this is all we have time for. So I would have to say is thank you very much for coming to Kigali, to the studio here, for your time and for your dedication. And I hope we'll have another chance to get you back at the table. And then to you lovely viewers out there from Mogadishu to Kano to Lusaka and Lilongwe, thank you for tuning in for Safety Promotion. If you enjoyed today's focus session, please be our ambassador and tell your friends about the work of AviAssist and your colleagues about the work of AviAssist. Visit the first aviation safety promotion center in Africa, here in Kigali, the ASPC Rwanda. Lots of exciting courses coming up in the year ahead. We'll also have several courses take place at Landover Aviation Business School in Lagos, Nigeria, including an SMS course, Safety Management Systems course, and an International Airlaw course. And then we have also more courses coming up in the coming year in Kenya, Namibia, South Africa, and Zambia. And as we always say at AviAssist, only you can target safety. We look forward to continuing our mission with you to improve African aviation safety. Join us again for the next focus session and continue your learning. Same time, same frequency. For now I say thanks for watching.